we're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, February 20th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Wonbin.
Good morning.
Good morning. Also fabulous with us.
Happy New Year and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we finally made it to the end of the work week, and for many of us, it felt a little shorter than usual with it being just a 2-day stretch. But still, even a short week can feel long, and by Friday, we're all ready to unwind, reset, and maybe even treat ourselves a little.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to today's topic. So in Korea, there's a saying, 옷이 날개다, which literally means clothes are wings. So in other words, what you wear can completely transform how you look and help you take off, and even how you feel. And fashion isn't just about fabric, it's about confidence, identity, and self-expression. So Wonbin, let me ask you, how often do you shop for clothes? Would you say you're into fashion?
Well, to speak freely, I do like clothes, but I don't buy them really often. Instead, I prefer to choose a style that I like and spend actually a decent amount of money on a couple of good quality, good brand products and wear it for as long as possible. Now, that being said, there was also a time in my life where I was obsessed with the so-called fast fashion. But as I started working, I started to realize that there's a style that fits my work, my career, and my personal taste at the same time. Normally, I prefer to wear collared shirts or polo shirts because they're not too formal, like a suit or a tuxedo,
Right.
but at the same time, not too casual, like a t-shirt or hoodie, which is perfect for a teacher like me.
You know, I think that's like the most important thing, to find what really fits, like a style that fits you.
Yes.
So what about you, Fabian?
Well, over the past few years, I started considering fashion as a very good investment. It
Ooh,
brings
I
me
see.
a lot of joy, and it's a great form of like self-expression, honestly.
it is.
So every month or every 2 months, I try to buy a few new items, and every season, so every 6 months, I completely do a wardrobe reset. And I just
Wow.
get the things that I still like and that feel like me. And then the rest I just give away, sell, or donate. This way I can really find joy in like expressing myself. And I also feel like it changes my mood and how I remember moments of my life. Like the colors that I used, the shapes that I used, the materials, everything really paints a whole image on the things that I lived. Is that weird?
It's not at all. I'm glad I have you on the show today, as you sound very committed to fashion.
I am committed.
And I also think that's a really healthy way to look at fashion, not just as consumption, but something tied to identity and memories. And I like how, Fabio, you described fashion as an investment, and also helps you, judges how you feel rather than something you just buy. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. With the global rise of Korean dramas and K-pop, the spotlight isn't just on the storylines or the music anymore. Viewers around the world are also paying close attention to what their favorite actors and idols are wearing. Fashion itself has become a reason for many visitors to choose Korea as their next travel destination, eager to shop the very styles they've seen in hit dramas and performances. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at how K-fashion status within the industry has risen alongside the Korean wave, what makes it distinctive and competitive on the global stage, and the styles we personally would recommend. As we just saw in a video, Korean fashion is no longer just riding the Korean wave, it's becoming a driving force of its own. So, how strong is Korean fashion's global growth right now, Wonbin?
Yeah, so for the past few years, Korea's fashion brands have been showing amazing growth and performance in the international markets outside of Korea. One Korean company that opened a global store in 2022 is showing a 300% annual growth rate on average, and taking the throne of global K-fashion brand. And this company has over 4,000 stores in 13 different countries.
Wow.
Yeah. And on top of that, K-athleisure is also growing rapidly. Now, athleisure is a combination of the word athletic and leisure, such as leggings, yoga pants, or running shorts, or tank tops. It's showing great popularity, especially in Japan, with the market growing over 72% compared to the previous year.
So these are really impressive numbers, especially the triple-digit growth and a very rapid global expansion. And it shows that Korean fashion isn't just trendy, but also commercially quite powerful. And obviously, this momentum isn't just visible overseas. I'm obviously going to have an impact right here in Korea. So what kind of
Definitely.
impact are we seeing in Korea's shopping districts, Fabian?
Well, as you mentioned, local consumption has always been strong in Korea, but we continue to see this rising attention and global popularity in these commercial districts that are also very popular with visitors from abroad. Let's take Myeongdong, for example. You see, Myeongdong is one of the most iconic shopping spots here in Korea, and it really resembles and showcases the K-fashion and K-shopping experience. Aside from local food and also some beauty products, it is fully packed with clothing stores that appeal to people in their 20s and 30s. And because of that, it obviously attracts a lot of customers. You see, according to the Korean Cultural Center, during the first half of last year, it attracted a total of 4.5 million visitors, which is definitely a lot and the most among major commercial districts here in Korea. Brands that carry a distinctly Korean aesthetic or vibe, they definitely thrive with overseas audiences too. And at the same time, more people are starting to consider Korea not only as a country that follows trends, but as a country that makes trends, creating that kind of like fashion identity that is so unique.
I mean, the first report I actually did when I came in as a reporter at Arirang was how, the sales in Myeongdong had actually fallen during COVID. So
Exactly,
it's crazy to
yes.
see how, you mentioned 4.5 million is a huge comeback.
It was a rough spot, but now it's
Right,
thriving.
it's come back bigger than ever. And it's a clear sign Myeongdong is really back on the map, and Korean fashion is at the heart of that revival. And beyond sales and tourism, the industry's presence itself appears also to be changing. So how has Korean fashion's reputation in the global industry kind of evolved over the years?
Yeah, so it surely went up a lot in the past few years, as many Korean brands are proving that the K-fashion standard is working in the global market. So in the past, Korea used to be a country that just sold clothes designed from abroad. So they would import clothes or have factories that would take orders from abroad and produce it as they like. But now Korea works as a co-designer or even leads product design for fashion. For instance, a Korean company that used to buy and sell American brand shoes is now making their own products and did over 1 trillion won in sales, which is approximately 700 million US dollars.
And that's clearly a major shift from simply distributing global brands to actually shaping design and product strategy. And it suggests that Korea is no longer just following trends, but helping define them. And we're also seeing this influence reflected in specific brands. So what are some other success stories that are being led by Korean fashion brands?
Well, there's actually a lot all over the world, and one that really caught my attention is an American golfwear brand that decided to give full product agency, like the whole developing responsibility, to a Korean company. You see, after doing so and showing these products that were developed and designed by the Korean team, they saw a lot of success. In fact, they had a revenue of 100 million won during their first year in the Korean market, which is quite impressive. Also, this brand wasn't really initially planning on entering this market or following Korean strategies, but after doing so, they realized that doing it that way, they could achieve a lot of success, and they did so, obviously. So it goes to show that leaning into these Korean strategies may be a very good tactic, since K-fashion now plays a big role in overall consumption internationally. Let's take, for example, some other examples in styling choices here in Korea. Business casual was very strong here, and then we also have some elements like this very thin cardigans that people wear during midsummer. They're usually meant to protect you from the sun. Well, these styling choices that were so trendy and popular here in Korea are started to being adopted to other countries' cultures. So people all over the world are starting to identify what Korean fashion is, and also pretty much try to blend in a little bit.
Right, so the examples you shared also really highlights how Korean consumer insight has become a competitive edge and how it works overseas as well. So when styles that were previously only seen in Korea go global, it shows the industry's influence now extends well beyond domestic borders. And we also wanted to hear directly from our viewers, so we ran a poll on the Arirang News YouTube channel asking, why do you buy Korean fashion items? So here's what the results showed. So more than half of the respondents, 54%, cited trendy and up-to-date designs as the main reason. Another 26% point to the influence of Korean dramas and K-pop, showing the strong impact of the Korean wave on consumer choices. Meanwhile, 15% said reasonable prices were the key factor, while a smaller 5% highlighted convenient purchasing channels as their primary reason. So we're also going to gain an insider's perspective on this. So we're going to talk to someone who's part of the fashion industry. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out Channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Jessie, a fashion model from London. Hello, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So what are ways that you see Korean fashion gain more recognition overseas, especially as your job as a model?
Well, I think it's important to note that there's two sorts of level to fashion. There's commercial fashion and high fashion. From a commercial standpoint, I think, as you guys mentioned, it's becoming very trendy and people are really seeing it as an aspiration they can work towards and wear, and they enjoy wearing it. And from a high fashion perspective, whilst I'm not personally familiar with any extremely popular high fashion Korean brands, I will say events such as Seoul Fashion Week, which was very recently, have started to become events people look forward to on the larger fashion calendar, which really shows that Korea might be starting to get a place in the fashion industry as a whole.
Well, thank you so much for your insights. Now, what have you noticed as the biggest strengths of K-fashion while modeling?
This is going to sound quite odd, but I think K-fashion is quite easy. And what I mean when I say that, it doesn't take a lot of effort to look good or have a good outfit if you're partaking in Korean fashion. In the UK, if I buy something, I actually have to think quite hard on what matches what. But because Korean clothes tend to A, all be of pretty high quality, and B, match quite well because styles are so similar, it's very easy to have a good functioning outfit, which makes it accessible to a wide variety of people who might not have knowledge of fashion.
And what is your overall outlook on K-fashion's global growth?
I don't have a massively positive outlook, and that's because whilst K-fashion is very popular, this doesn't always necessarily translate to sales. For example, in the UK, it's actually very difficult to buy Korean clothes right now. And there's a phenomena where other, maybe domestic brands are emulating Korean styles and selling them in the place of Korean brands, which shows that if you can't do the logistics and get your products aboard, it's still quite hard for them to be profitable. But I will say, I do have high hopes for high-end Korean fashion, because high-end fashion is all about brand identity, perception, and buying into a concept. And that's something that has been done before quite successfully with K-beauty, where people chose to buy K-beauty products over domestic products because they valued the concept K-beauty was bringing. So I think that if high-end K-fashion can also refine their concepts and strengthen their unique identity, then it will also do similarly well abroad.
I think it's really interesting how you mentioned how there's two ways to look at it, commercial and high fashion. So thank you for bringing that point up today.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today. So we've just spoken with a model based in London, getting his take on how Korean fashion can gain even more recognition overseas, what sets it apart in the competitive international market, and how he sees its global growth unfolding in the years ahead. So it's clear that Korean fashion is no longer just a passing trend, but an industry carving out a lasting presence on the world stage. So in your opinion, Wonbin, what do you think makes Korean fashion unique?
So ironically, throughout this show, I've noticed that Fabio has much more energy and enthusiasm about K-fashion. So I'm sure he has a lot to point out about these specific fashion styles. So I think I wanted to focus a little bit more on the consumer's side. So I think one of the biggest strengths that K-fashion has is the quality for the price we pay. In Korea, we have a term called 가성비, which means bang for the buck or how much value you get for the price. A lot of Koreans are crazy for 가성비, including myself, and this leads to K-fashion prices to be much more reasonable and affordable while carrying good quality. Excluding a few luxury brands made by Korea, most Korean brand products tend to be much cheaper than foreign brands, anywhere between 10 to 50%. There are also many brands that specialize in basic items such as plain jeans, single colored shirts, or hoodies with a quality that lasts longer and that is better than the traditional fast fashion clothes. So there are some issues that we have to, there's some room for improvements, like Jesse mentioned, distribution and logistics to go international. But so far in Korea, those are the big strengths, and I hope that it can lead to the international market as well.
I mean, and in this economy, you can't ignore price, the advantage of prices. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think Jesse had a very strong point during the interview, which is that Korean fashion is easy, it's accessible, but it's also very versatile. Because of the neutrality of the shapes and colors, I think people are easily prompted to combine different items and make their own outfits without reaching the tacky realm. It's usually very cut clean and very decisively elegant in some type of way. And I also feel like trends here take a space that is very different from other countries. You see, usually in Western countries especially, when a trend begins, most people try to break it and not join the group. Especially fashion-forward people set new trends by breaking the ones that are at their peak in that moment. But that doesn't seem like a worry present here in Korea. I feel like most people find a lot of comfort in joining the trends that are supposed to look good or be trendy. And while doing so, it gains this kind of momentum where, because a lot of people are showcasing the special aesthetic of this trend and how much they like it and actually putting it into work, people are able to analyze that, see that, and identify it. And that is why people overseas see some trends that are happening in Korea and are able to be like, oh yes, that is a new hairstyle trend. Oh yeah, I noticed that Koreans are wearing this type of baggy pants. And that is because people like to join in that conversation here in Korea and are not afraid to be seen as basic because they are joining that group. So I do feel like that trend 문화, that trend culture here in Korea is very strong.
I mean, there's a lot to explore there. So as Jesse said, there's still a lot to be done before it fully moves on to the global stage. So what kind of Korean trends would you suggest, or what kind of strengths does Korean fashion have that you'd like to point out?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the good price for the quality once again. That's the Korea's slogan and the impression that we had since the economic boom in the 70s and 90s. And it's basically the same for fashion. So if you want to try K-fashion, the entrance barrier is much lower compared to other fashion brands because it's much more affordable. And if you're not too sure where to start in terms of K-fashion, I highly recommend you to fall in love with some K-dramas. It's a really good place to start to be familiar with K-fashion, and it will also show you some good options because the fashion that you see in K-drama, they are already tailored and highly refined by different artists, stylists, and writers. So if you're not sure which to try, start with K-drama.
So as our go-to person for fashion on Jen, what are your thoughts on this?
A lot. I mean, don't knock it till you try it. And I do feel like here in Korea, there's a lot of emphasis put into how people look. And so that type of interest in aesthetics and making things look good does, there's a study behind everything. And every trend appears because people already have those ideas related to beauty. So I would suggest that people really, they should really experiment with the trends that are going on in Korea. If it doesn't work for you, then just move on. But I honestly found a lot of joy after discovering some changes that I did in my styling. For example, even for the hair, a lot of Korean people put a lot of emphasis on having volume in the back. I never tried it, but once I did it, I was like, wait, this actually looks pretty good. It makes the whole shape a little bit better. Or even with shorts, when I was living in Europe during summer, a lot of boys wear very tight and short shorts, but here in Korea it's more of an oversized type of style, and I actually prefer that shape after trying it. But it wasn't my intention to try it. It was just like those were the options here in Korea. So I would suggest people to actually try to blend in, try it, and then if they like it, then well, that's a success.
Like both you and Jessie pointed out during the Zoom interview, and it's also easy to try out these new types of trends as well, so
definitely.
go for it. And as we've heard today, fashion isn't just about clothes, it's about emotion, identity, and storytelling. Korean fashion has managed to capture all three while also gaining global attention. And with rising recognition overseas, its influence shows no signs of slowing down. And we also look forward to seeing how it continues to evolve. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Wonbin.
Always a pleasure.
And also Fabio.
Thank you for having me.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you step into the weekend in style. We are
News Generation.